This is the Lomanco smokehouse demonstration on the 750 style vent. Now the smokehouse we use as a great dramatization of what's happening in your attic space. When we're building our ventilation systems, we're trying to maintain a constant flow of air through the attic space. And we use two parts of a vent system to do this. The first part is the intake, down here. This is where you're going to allow replenishment air to enter in the attic space. It's generally much cooler and helps to cool down the attic. It also helps to force that lighter air up and out. That hot air is trying to escape to the top end of the attic. And in this case, it's trying to go through a 750 style slant back louvered vent. So what we'll use is a little bit of smoke inside to represent the heat and the moisture in the attic, and we'll see how the process actually works. What we're looking for again is a constant flow of air moving into the cornice vents or the soffit vents down here, circulating throughout the attic space and ultimately exhausting out the top at the 750 style vent, which you can see is taking place here. Lots of good air moving into the soffit, and as you can see, tons of smoke, which represent heat and moisture leaving the attic space. That's great when there's no wind blowing, but how often is the wind not blowing at all? The average wind speed in the United States is about 8 miles an hour. So we'll use a wind machine here to demonstrate more closely what's happening at your house. Now you see, as the wind hits the roof deck and rolls over the top and hits the front end of that slant back static vent, the 750, it helps to draw the heat and the moisture out. You'll see here how much air is now being drawn in, circulating around the entirety of the attic space and going out the top. That's what we're trying to achieve. That's a ventilation system. And now you see why for over 60 years, roofing contractors have trusted the Lomanco 750. At Lomanco, we make products for a complete ventilation system. Now, it's often easy to identify the exhaust vents on a roof. You can see them here. They're a 750 style slant back vent. Sometimes you'll see ridge vent on here, or even turbines and power vents. Very easy to identify. And they're a critical part of the system. But what is most often overlooked, and unfortunately is overlooked, is the intake side. So what we've been able to do with this smokehouse demonstration is I'll fill it up for you. You can see the fog in here representing heat and moisture. And as it fills up, you'll see a little bit of it escape out the top of this 750 style vent. But most of it will stay inside, trapping that heat and moisture over the living space, ultimately raising the temperature inside the living space, which costs homeowners money. So what we're trying to do when building these systems is move as much air as we can into the intake, circulate throughout the entirety of the attic space, and then ultimately exhaust out the top to the exhaust vents. So again, as you see, very little smoke being able to move. But watch what happens when I open up these soffits just a little bit and introduce some replenishment air into them. You see, almost immediately now, this system starts to really work the way it's designed to. It's helping to pull air into the soffit, circulate throughout the entire attic space, and as you can see, a tremendous amount of smoke, which represents heat and moisture, is now being pushed out through that exhaust vent, that 750. But watch what happens when I add a little bit of air to it. I'll fill this back up so you can see it. Get it nice and full of heat and moisture for you. Then I'll add about 8 miles an hour worth of wind and watch what happens. Again, we're getting a little bit of a good draw out of there, so some of the heat and moisture is being allowed to escape. Very slow moving effect though for the overall attic space. But again, I'll open up this soffit vent and watch the difference. Just like that, that system turns on and really does the kind of pumping through that exhaust vent that we're hoping for. So again, at Lomanco, our goal is to make your ventilation systems as complete as possible, and we remind you to use both properly balanced intake and exhaust in your systems.